Where did the thought and the idea to write this book come from in the first place?
I love talking about the birthplace of explained pain, because it really it probably started brewing 5 years before that, or actually more than that. I was working as a clinical physiotherapist. I wasn't thinking about doing research or anything. And what I was personally finding was that patients would come back after I'd been pretty honest with them about my understanding of the biology of their condition, and I learned that from the amazing stuff going on in pain science. And they would come back and they would often say things like, you're talking about this, and I think that's really relevant to me. That's how my pain seems to work. And I've decided to try so and so. So I started to have these situations where patients were taking what ends up being transformative understanding of biology to make different decisions about their management and their recovery. And that really struck me, and it probably rescued me from leaving healthcare. I was working as a physiotherapist, but feeling like the people on the edges who were really struggling and were not their needs weren't being met by the system. These are the people with chronic disabling pain. They were lingerers, or they were being told to snap out of it, and they were genuine heartache situations. And I guess I've had my own personal journey of pain for 6 or 7 years, and discovering the opportunity and the possibility in my own biology. So I'd had that journey, and I watched other people starting to have that journey, and then I went on a surfing trip, and I went to a conference so I could claim a tax deduction. And I went in and listened to one talk, and there was a guy with green pants and green glasses talking about what lies above the foramen magnum, the bottom of the brain, and that as physiotherapists we should start thinking about that in our treatments. And it was a manual therapy conference, and at the end of his talk, I thought it was so good that I yelled out loud, "All right," and started applauding, and I was the only one applauding. It was silent except for me, and this guy was crucified by the crowd reaction, and he came down and thanked me, and that started my relationship with David Butler. So I would always dip my lid, take off my hat to David.
Hear the entire episode for free on iTunes, Spotify, other favorite podcast players, or go to mechanicalcareforum.com.